Hello everyone, Luxense here, your coach of the Cloning Gallades, and today I'm bringing you my Week 1 battle for Season 2 of the PCL. My Week 1 battle was against Root, who is subbing in for Tom Z. Tom had a few things going on IRL and was not able to continue the league, which is extremely unfortunate. I was really looking forward to playing him. And we got Root to sub for him, which of course is nice. So, because of this, we had to do our battle yesterday. I didn't really have time throughout the week to make a team builder. So, I don't have one for this week. I'll have one for next week, however. Quickly going over my team, Megalopony is almost max attack, speed creeping the Tornadus T, high jump kick, return, fake out, power up punch. Gladiar is mainly physically defensive, earthquake, U-turn, toxic, and some other move that I don't remember. It was not that important of a move for this match. Mainly to stop the Charizard X from Dragon Dance sweeping. Then we have Florges with Moonblast, Defog, Wish, Protect. Also mainly physically defensive. For the Crocodile that I thought he'd bring, I have a specially defensive Cresselia. Mainly for Reuniclus, which he also didn't bring, and also to partly stop Magears and Tornadus T from wreaking havoc, and Celebi, because Celebi is also a threat. And the Exploud, that's right there. With Signal Beam, Skill Swap, Toxic, and Moonlight. Then we have Expert Belt Darkrai with Dark Pulse, Ice Beams, Incinerate, and Nasty Plot. This at +2 could basically sweep his team with a bit of chip on some mons. And then we have AV Scolipede with Mega Horn, Rock Slide, Superpower, and Earthquake. So let's get right into this. So, also thanks to Son for recording this. I sent out Lola, which is my Megalopony. Since I didn't have a dedicated lead and I didn't really know what he'd lead necessarily, I decided I can always go Lola and then just click Fake Out. And then, basically if my matchup isn't favorable, I can always just switch out. You know, I Mega here, I click Fake Out. And like getting from the damage that it did to the Tornadus T, I could tell that he wasn't like an offensive Tornadus T, mainly like defensive. So I go into Cresselia. Like after this play, I thought in my head I probably could have just gone for a Returner on the Tornadus T, since there was not really a reason for him to click U-turn on that turn. I mean Hurricane on that turn. But Cresselia works out just fine. He goes into Exploud. I take a bit of chip due to the U-turn. And here I decide to click Toxic. He only has Tentacruel and Magears as potential switch-ins to Toxic. So I decided to just click that. He goes for the Boom Burst here, and from the damage that he did, I could tell that it was Specs. Did about 45% and Specs Boom Burst to this Cresselia build would do around 40 to 49-ish. I don't remember, like 40 to 48 maybe. So here he goes into Bubba Sparks, which is his Charizard, and I go for the Moonlight, since Cresselia is quite crucial to be able to beat the Exploud and possibly takes a hit from Magears as well if I need. So I just go for the Moonlight and I go back. No wait, I don't go back. I actually misclick here. I meant to click Toxic to Toxic the Charizard, but he actually goes Magears and I accidentally click Skill Swap, which is very unfortunate for me. Basically, now he has Levitate, and my main counter to this is Earthquake Scolipede. So I first have to Skill Swap back my Levitate to me, while he gets a free turn. in which he clicks clicks shift gear. Now, in my head, I was like, okay, this is not good. But then again, if he's not Calm Mind or physically offensive Magearna, Scolipede should still be able to like take this on. So I go into Scolipede, he clicks Shadow Ball, and that deals about 30-ish%, I think. Here goes for the Ice Beam because it's obviously a stronger move, which brings me down to 64. I click Earthquake and almost do half. Now, this told me that his Magearna was more of an offensive build, and then here it also reveals that he's leftovers due to non defensively invested Magearna taking a minimum of 49% to Earthquake from this Scolipede set. So here he goes into Birdman, and me not wanting to risk my Magearna counter dying because I overpredict and go for a Rock Slide. I just click Earthquake and I switch out here into Florges. I expect him to maybe go for either Knockoff, U-Turn, or Hurricane, so Florges was kind of my middle ground play to not have Cressilia's leftovers knocked off, to not have Cressilia take a lot of U-Turn damage, and to still have and to be able to take a Hurricane as well. So here goes Charizard, and I decide to immediately go into Gligar, which turns out not to be such a great play because his Charizard X is carrying HP Ice, but we have to wait for the Mega Animation. So this happens. HP Ice. So getting from damage, I knew that he was a minus special attack nature, and I thought, okay, if he's Jolly, I have a good chance of living a Flare Blitz, so I'll risk that and try and go for Toxic so he can't set up a Dragon Dance. He goes for Flare Blitz, reveals that he is most likely Adamant Charizard to me. So I just go into Lola, and here I'd be able to fake out and click High Jump Kick to kill. He goes into his Tentacruel, so I click Fake Out, and that deals a decent chunk of damage. But this does reveal to me that he's very physically defensive. I go for Return here, and here is the other mistake in prep. Here's my first mistake in prep. I mean, I forgot to put my happiness on. It's a classic. Is it a game changer? Probably not, I say, but oh well. I switch out Lola, I go straight into my Darkrai, thinking that I have to make some bigger plays right now or I will lose this game. So I go into Darkrai. Probably should have gone into it with a free switch, but I go for Nasty Plot here, and due to the damage that I did with Return being so minimal, I could not OHKO the Tentacruel from this range with +2 Dark Pulse. So I decided to bank on the Flinch instead, which obviously I do not get. He goes for Scald. It doesn't knock out my Darkrai. I don't get burned either, which is nice. 3 Scalds, no burns. Good stuff. I go for Dark Pulse here again, and I kill the Tentacruel, which is a Darkrai's first kill of the season. I'm quite happy about that. Now here he goes into Squirtle, which is his Linoon, and here I decide to stay in and click Dark Pulse due to me not wanting him to get set up with Belly Drum for free. So I decide to let Darkrai die here and go straight into Lola. Of course, he won't let his normal type stay in on a fighting type, so I click Power Up Punch instead here as he goes out into Tornadus. And at this point, I decided to click Return, because Return at +1 with the happiness that I did have would be like 50%-ish. So I decided to go for it. I thought he was way less bulky than he was. So he goes for Hurricane there. I expect him to either go for U-turn, and I could always bank on a Hurricane miss. He doesn't miss the Hurricane. He does not go for U-turn. So I go back into Cresselia, and here I switch out into I switch out into Scolipede. Here he goes for U-turn, and he actually goes back into the line Noon. Which at this point, I decided I did not want to risk my Scolipede due to it being my main check to Magearna and still being able to chunk it quite heavily. So I decide to take out my Scolipede, go back into Cresselia, and he does go for the Extreme Speed, which would have killed the Scolipede. After display, I just go for Toxic again. I felt like it was quite free, and I didn't think he'd go into his Magearna at this point. So I get a Toxic off. Tornadus gets Toxic. It's probably his best mon to get Toxic for him since he has Regenerator, of course. But this is alright, he will get chipped down eventually. And I return my Cresselia and I send out Florges. Again, same reasoning I said earlier. He clicks U-turn again, because he has no reason to click Hurricane. I wouldn't go into Scolipede there, I wouldn't risk that. And he goes back into line Noon. Now here is the second misprep of the match. And you'll see in a bit. He goes for Belly Drum. Cuts his HP in half. He made his HP an odd number. I go for Moonblast, and this will kill. So, kinda threw his Linoon there due to the wrong HP number. That's unfortunate. He goes into Charizard. And I decide to go into Cresselia here, seeing as I need to stop him from Dragon Dancing. So, not only would Flare Blitz do a lot at this point, I don't know how to say it. I wasn't expecting Crunch at all. That's one, but I wasn't like hoping to get a Toxic off at this point anymore, because that wouldn't do enough damage in three Pokemon. So I decided my one chance to kill this Charizard is if I skill swap Levitate onto it and give myself Tough Claws to weaken his damage from Flare Blitz and Crunch's shit, to try and give my Florges an opportunity to live after a Protect. So, Cresselia dies here, takes a bit of chip. I go out into my Florges. I was actually maxed out, so I don't know why I protected here. I go for Moonblast here. He goes for Flare Blitz. Does a lot of damage, doesn't kill due to him not having Tough Claws. Takes a lot of recoil, and Moonblast will pick up the KO here. So Florges is actually alright with 2 kills so far without using any stall moves like Toxic, so that's alright. And he goes back into his Magearna, and at this point the game is sealed. He clicks Dazzling Gleam, which actually if I had gone into Scolipede, I maybe could have like lived that. So that's kind of funny. He gets the Soul Heart boost. I go into Scolipede, and I basically have to hope for a crit on this Magearna to be able to somewhat come back, I guess. So I go into Scallopy, click Earthquake, and magically, against all odds, it doesn't crit. So we unfortunately lose our week 1 game against Root. It was a very good fight though. Misreps and misplays on both parts, so. Next week I'll be back with a team builder and an actual, and hopefully a better match. That's not what I want to end on. Just wait. Yeah, it doesn't work. So next week I'll be back against the Minnesota Twin Needles, coached by Itzhak, and hopefully we'll pick up a W. See you guys next time.